What's happening? Oh, it's been a minute, and it's been a moment. No, I'm not late. I'm on time. Beat. 7:30. Yeah. It's 7:35. No, it's not. It's 7:30. On the dot.
Hey y'all.
Ain't nobody here. We thugging out here in these streets. I gave y'all 3 hours advance, and this is how y'all do me. Nobody, nobody showed up. That's a fair point. It could have YouTube could have not shown it to him too. Since I haven't done one in a while, YouTube could have be treating me like I ain't earned my stripes yet. I know, right? YouTube disrespectful, man. They're like, man, you ain't been live in a minute. Robert said, I'm not here. Oh my gosh. What's up, Nathan? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. So, yeah, I gave advance notice, man. Not a whole lot. Not as much as I want to, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make it happen. And the only reason why I decided to make it happen is because I knew I was gonna be able to like push my kids away. Because my wife was not originally gonna be here. She had some MJ, what's happening? Hey, MJ. I'm sure she heard you as loud as you were. Um I gotta ask you a question. Well, go for it. I gotta get this Zoom together, man. Every day my eyes get older and older. I need to get some glasses. I think that's just the reality of the situation. So I need to try and look into that. Let me see if I could. She said, "Hey, Dell." Let me see if I could pop this chat out. Man, let me just say that this winter, you think I'd be used to winter solar sun sucking, but I'm not. I'm not. The sun is starting to get a little better. You know what I mean? It's been an interesting, what is it, February now? It's been an interesting couple months. But the reason why I feel that way is because I think like the first few winters, I still got good sun. And then we had that one winter where it snowed and it was always overcast and it was like dark overcast. Even Jason Noy was saying like, yeah, man, I'm struggling here solarly. I made that up. Um, so it's funny to think about these seasons in terms of like, man, in like a month or two, the sun will start to get higher and higher. Uh, you know what my brain just went? So Trump won. How about that? You see if my focus is good. Oh man, tariffs are coming. Yeah, the Department of Education might be going away. It's a fun time. I made a post on Book of Faces. It was just like, man, y'all tighten y'all belts. Um, be prepared to help your neighbor. Uh, cut back where you can, and then I put try and either enjoy the ride or endure the ride because some interesting times may be on the horizon, no matter where you fall on the situation. Hey, Yvette, it's good to see you. Every now and then I jump into my Telegram for my solar channel and I see your name and I was like, I wonder if Yvette's still on here. How the heck are you? How's life? What you been up to? All right, let me see if I can get this together. Um, so yeah, as it relates to winter, it's been interesting, but I have been getting by. Even with overcast weather, I've been trying to get into a mindset where, okay, on my 1,000 watt array going into my Blue Eddy, even on an overcast day, I should be able to come away with a good 80, 90 watts. My refrigerator uses about that much and it's not on all the time. So I've been getting into this mindset of like, well, you're not getting banging sun, but you should be able to keep your core stuff running at least during the day. because of how many solar panels that I have. And it's the same thing with my deep freezer and my upright freezer. I kind of want to keep those things running. I've been struggling in my main zone because what was over there? It's been the Pecron for a minute, but before that, it was the Bluetti AC60. It's the Pecron E600 LFP. Somebody wanted to ask me a question. I'll get to that in a second. I put the Pecron over there because I went through the process of putting two 40-volt panels in my front yard. At one point, I had a 40-volt, 300 watt, it's like a 38-volt, and then I had a 200-watt Bourgeois V. What happened? The Bourgeois V 100-watt panel stopped working, which was not a big deal. I reached out to them on that, and they're waiting for video proof, but I don't have time to get them the video, which is an interesting dilemma to be in. The Alriska panel stopped working. What's up? Okay. The Alriska 200-watt panel, the squarish panel, stopped working. I haven't even bothered reaching out to them because it was like a bonus panel. But anyway, the front zone is now the Pecron E600 LFP, right? Because it has a 96-volt input limit. The AC60 with the B80 used to be there before, which was actually a good companion because it was about 11 to 1200 watt hours of battery capacity. So when I had that charged up, I could really maintain the internet running for a good bit. It could make it through the night and so on and so forth. Right now, what is over there is the AC70, which is the 1000-watt inverter with the 700 and some odd watt hour capacity of battery. And it has a 50-volt, I think, input limit. It might be 50 or 60, but it can take it up to 500 watts. So that one's just hooked into the panel that the Pecron was hooked into. Plus, that one has Bluetooth control. What else? It only has two outlets, which sucks because I have a lamp over there, I have my TV over there, and then I have an extension cord that runs the internet, which is the modem and the FiOS network terminal unit or whatever it's called that's on the outside of the house. So the 768 watt hours is not doing great, but if you rock with me on Patreon and you locked in on Patreon, which is fine if you're not locked in on Patreon. I know Yvette was one of the OG supporters. Sharfarme still rocks with me. Setai still rocks with me. A couple other people are over there. We got some free accounts over there too. So if I post a free joint that's not locked in, then people get to see that too, which I do sometimes do. So holla at me on Patreon if you're into it. If you're not, it's okay. I get it. But I found an AC 70p on the marketplace for $200, which was a fantastic look. I don't think, and it was pretty much brand new. I don't think she used it that much. So I got the orange dip. Hold on, let me pause for a second because I want to see what this question was. All right, let's try and pop out this chat. And then let's do some control and scrolling my mouse wheel. Viva la resistance. I ain't mad at that. Let's see. All right, I got all these Fosse amps, equalizer, and DAC. If you add up their wattage, it should be high, but everything on running at the same time is like 20 watts. Okay. What's the question? Good panel to throw on the roof of a Forerunner. A Forerunner. I would say any panel that is 300 watts, 290, 350 should fit nice on a Forerunner. If not, you can always go with these new N-type panels and you could just get two 200s and put it in series or put it in parallel. If you're into that kind of thing, depending on what you have going into it. But I like a single panel mounted on the top of a vehicle. Not that I would ever do that, but I would go single panel just to keep things simple. And then when you have like a 300, 350, You may even get into a 400 watt panel if you could fit it. And then on overcast days, you're getting at least 10% output on that, which is not crazy. But I mean, 300 watts, 10% to get 30 watts on an overcast day. I mean, that could keep you kind of moving. Keep some things charged, keep the Starlink running or whatever, maintain you so you're just not powerless out there. And if it's a bright overcast day, you can get about 20%. So, you get 80, close to 100 watts, depending on how bright it is, even when it's overcast. Okay, so finally got sun today. Yep. Nowhere to put the power. All power stations are full. Oh, really? That's interesting. Dang. Be prepared for the ride. Facts, man. Eating popcorn and watching what's the SSSS show? What's up, John from Southern California? Solar Independent Utility Systems Manual. That's always a mouthful. What's going on? Enjoying and enduring. That's for sure. Lots have happened since last talk. New house on solar, now with RV. So big changes. Nice, fantastic video. Window AC working the other day. Need geothermal and radiant. I'll have to check out the channel just to see. I know I'm so close. I have to check out your channel, Solar Independent Utility Systems Manual, to see what's going on. All right, thanks for stopping by. Thank you for the input, much appreciated. You're welcome. Bad word. What's that? My point is actually, it seems nothing uses the power it's rated at. That's a fair point. That is a fair point. What I think is happening in those situations. Well, if you own 120 volt, very few things use a lot of amps to begin with, because that's the whole point of being 120 volt. You keep the amps down so that the cables don't have to be as thick. That's why, countries overseas do 240 by default, because you get it. So one thing that happens is that they have to rate it for the most possible power that'll come through at a particular time. So you have to be mindful of that. So like, for instance, some people talk about televisions. I haven't noticed this, but some people talk about televisions and how much power they use when they're on lower volume versus when they're on higher volume. You could look at something like an iron, where when it's at its hottest, how much power is it going to use? How much power can it use under like perfect conditions, whatever. So that's why they have to rate it. And you'll see something rated for like 120 watts, and then it'll only get like 80, or something rated for like 100, and then it'll only get like 60 or something like that, because there's various means by which it will pull power under certain conditions. Who knows? Temperature could play a role. Who knows? So for something to pull 120 watts on AC, that's only like what, an amp. So sorry, I forgot how to chat on live. I was saying I was eating popcorn and watching the political. It's interesting. It's certainly interesting. I said before this all kind of happened, I do feel like the country needed some Republican energy. I think it's not necessarily unfortunate that it's embodied by Trump, but it's unfortunate that he's such a wild card, but he's also kind of radical in that he has a very everyman approach to certain things. And in some ways, it seems like a very maybe not uninformed, but ill-informed perspective on things. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Let's see. I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. Okay, it's a Republican. It's not the same. I mean, we have two camps, so whatever you want to call it, it falls on the R side of things. That's a fair differentiation, but it's he won because Republicans voted for him, so and he's registered under the Republican Party, but it's a fair It's a fair piece of clarity, fair point of clarity. I give you that. Yeah, always follow the money. That's a fair point. But here's the thing, to shift just a little bit. We know that whether we agree with it or not, people on the right, I'm an independent. I call myself a demopendent if I'm being fair. Um, People on the right believe that business and money and creating jobs and so on and so forth. I don't know where Trump falls on that. They believe that that will spur the economy, for people to do well. I think that that could be true in some instances, but we've seen. I don't want to say we've seen. What I'll say is I've heard and seen the Democratic spin on trickle down economics, and how in that particular silo or with those rose colored glasses, it doesn't seem to work. But I've never gotten that pitch from the Republican side of the aisle to get that argument on their side. I don't know what their vantage point is. So, following the money, the some people, the money flowing to people who are entrepreneurial and capitalistic is somewhat of a solution. So, but AC70, we could certainly swing back to that on the later end of the live stream. The AC70 and the AC70P, Bluetooth, the only difference between the two is a watt hour capacity. Um, I did shoot a video that day of me going to pick it up, which was more vloggy than anything, which is perfect for Patreon. That will probably hit Patreon. I don't know if I could package that in a way that it is consumable on the main YouTube stage. But they are both running very similar panels. They're both on a Hyundai 300 watt or 295 maybe. I say 40 volt, but it's really like 37 volt, like 8-9 amp panel. And they're getting pretty similar output. They're both at the front of my house. One is in my TV zone, and then one is at my front door. The front door typically powers things like my TV sometimes, so I'll split the load. The internet will be on the AC70, and the TV will be on the AC70P. They listen. That energy is good. What's up, Jay? Good to see you. So that's nice that I have two 50 volt, 500 watt capable power stations with Bluetooth. The reason why that is beneficial to me, and I talked about this in the video that I recorded, is that they are Bluetooth controlled. And even in a situation where if one goes down, I have these little plugs that I'm always talking about that I never have one around because I'm always using them. They're called SwitchBot. These SwitchBot Bluetooth and Wi-Fi switches that, let's say, what's up, Al, smoking tea? Let's say a scenario where my internet goes down. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. And my wife will say, well, why aren't the cameras accessible? Because the cameras will be down if the internet is down, which is stupid. It's dumb. I hate things that require the internet. It's like you right here on my network and I can't reach you. It's annoying. So what I could do is, because those SwitchBot switches are Bluetooth, I can Bluetooth into it, have it plugged into a power station that's running the internet, turn it on because I don't need the internet to access that SwitchBot. What do you need? You know what the batteries are? The batteries are remote. Everybody uses it. You have the remote? So then I could get it power, and then once it has power, I can connect to it via Bluetooth because it's not Wi-Fi, and I could turn the AC back on, and then it'll start to get power again, which is a scenario that I don't have to employ frequently. I don't like charging my power stations from the wall, but for the sake of keeping the internet on and popping, that's an option that I could have on the table now that those power stations are there with the Bluetooth connectivity. The EcoFlow was originally there, but that one was Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so it was the same scenario. But the EcoFlow didn't work out because the fan was weird. It was kind of a little louder than I would like it, and it made a weird whining noise when you charge 12-volt things, or I think when you used Bluetooth to charge it. I'm sorry, Bluetooth, USB-C. So it was interesting. I had this idea. I had 4 100-watt panels in series in parallel. That makes sense. We usually get about 365 at most. I dig it. That's a good look. Hold on. Let me see. Let me scroll up here. Even running the stuff on my own 12-volt DC, they're usually still only using 1.2 amps. It's just funny. Yeah, a lot of stuff doesn't use a lot of power. The main things that use power around our house are heating and cooling and cooking, which is heating. Everything else, man, you could kind of get by. And that's what's been really blowing my mind. Not literally, but just this idea of like, you got all these panels, man. Why aren't you able to maintain and power more stuff? You don't have to hide.
No.
What you looking for?
Nothing.
You're looking for nothing?
Yeah.
That's not how that works, son.
Okay, just getting my binder.
Okay.
Just getting my binder.
All right. Well, my bad. You know what I mean? It's a distraction to see you sneaking and slumping around behind me.
Sorry.
It's okay. You don't have to apologize. Where was I? I don't know. Let me look at the comments. Let's see. I actually got 400 watts coming into my Delta today with my two 200-watt rich solar panels connected in series. I'm not mad at that. That's what's up. I just got a Sonicare toothbrush. I was talking about power usage adapter that plugs into USB so I can run it off of my solar power system. Playing on seeing how many things I can get off of wall warts. That's so crazy. I'm gonna get there. Best friend and motor coach loves SwitchBots. Dig it. Hook all machines to an internal switch and then goes to a router switch, and then your network should be able to talk without internet. Yeah, my network can do that regardless. Hey, Grand Acres, good to see you. My network can do that regardless, but some devices need the internet to be accessible, which annoys me. But as long as my route, even if my internet is down, oh, really? Ice storm prediction. Yeah, my wife's thing was canceled. Jay is kind of like in my vicinity. I try not to speak to where I'm at. I feel like people could find it out, sure, but I ain't volunteering the information. OPSEC, stuff like that. My internet. Oh, that's funny. My internet can do that, and also your cell phones can do it. Your cell phones, if they can create a hotspot, some phones don't allow you to create a hotspot unless there's data, but other phones do. So you could create a kind of fake network and have things be able to connect with each other without the internet. So I get it. I get it 100%. But those cameras, they don't work without internet. And the funny thing about it, the deviation there, the funny thing about it is that I had an experience, I think, with a Yi. I got a Yi sitting on my desk right now. I don't use Yi anymore. I use the Wise cameras. I actually switched to the Wise cameras because they were supposed to be purported to be one of those cameras that gave you a live preview. And maybe they started out that way, but then by the time I got them, they didn't. And then they implemented some version of that. If you put the cameras in groups where you can look at all the cameras, or you can look at multiple cameras at the same time. So I actually switched to Wise for a reason, a feature that by the time I switched to them, it was no longer a thing. But I feel like with the Wise cams, I had traveled down to New Orleans, which is where I'm from, to visit my folks. And I think I set up a cell phone with a network that my cameras were configured to be on in the first place. And then I connected a phone to that network as well. and then we could monitor my son. And it worked for like a hot second. I don't know if after a while it got to the point where it was like, oh, you don't have internet, charge. But it worked for a little bit. And I never got back to trying it, but I wish it would just work that way, period. Because I don't need my cameras to be on the internet all the time. So if I could set up a situation where I create a network and then that network does not have access to internet, and then when I need to give it access to internet, I just give it. I would love to do that. Right now, what I do is all my Wise cameras, my EcoFlow, um, things like that that need internet, I put them on my guest network. They're not on my real network. The only thing that makes it onto my real network is like printers because it's inconvenient. But yeah, EcoFlows, whatever else uses network connectivity that doesn't really need it, but it's convenient, I put them on my guest network. Oh man. So the videos, let's talk about the videos. Going backwards a little bit here. My videos that you guys are seeing produced now, if it's not a product video, like a device, then those videos are from the past. I'm trying to really stick to being linear with putting my videos out. I'll record stuff all the time and be like, man, I could just put this out right now. What did I recorded something recently that was like, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to put this out at all. Um, but I can't mess up my timeline because it gets me weird in a weird place. So I'm just going back and making the videos, editing the videos, and putting them out. They're from the past. In some instances, I'm kind of in a summer season right now, and a lot of people have commented like, "Dang man, I'm jealous of your son." Is like me too. And shoot, it's from a long time ago. So that's where I'm at with it. But the live stream folks, and also Patreon folks, dang, something on my nose, they get access to videos that are kind of like real time. But even then, I try to be very sparing with that. But I will deviate on Patreon, and then the live stream, I'm talking about things that are actually going on right now. It's been very interesting to not have a whole lot of power coming through off of my solar, but I have figured out a way to kind of maintain things throughout the day that works. I'll be getting about 80 or 90 watts from my 300-watt panels that are in parallel. So I have two. You guys, if you saw the video that I put out recently about the panels being in parallel, that's kind of where my situation is similar to right now, where the most I can do is put two panels in parallel, and then I have to put them into different power stations. So they'll be getting about 80 watts, 90 watts, 76 watts, things like that, 60 watts sometimes. And my deep freezer, my vertical freezer, and my refrigerator all use about the same amount of power. They use about 100 watts an hour. So I can get by, but sometimes I have to plug them into the wall. It pains me to plug stuff into the wall, but I just have to be realistic about the fact that, like, if it is what it is, you just got to do what you got to do. We went through a whole thing where the fridge was dying a lot, and I had to put it on AC more than anything. Like my wife just asked me to give her a break, and it was hard to do that. It was tough, but I did it. I honored her wishes, but I recently talked her back into allowing me to put it on solar. It's running off of solar power now, um, because it saves us money. Each if I could have each of those devices on solar power for as much as possible, let's just say I could do it for the whole month. Each device saves me $15 on my bill. That's about how much power. Yeah, it can. And we deal, as Jay is saying, the winter sun can be depressing. We deal with it every year, and it sucks every year. Man, it sucks. The good thing about it is if it's sunny during the winter, the sun is popping. You know what I mean? It's like the power is popping because the panels perform better in the winter because they're cooler or they're cold. I've been dealing with um, I'll put some power stations outside. Like right now, my AC50B is outside. Yeah, it's getting better every day. My AC50B is outside right now. I've had the all powers outside. Um, and what I've been noticing in my particular climate is that even when I haven't done a scientific like kind of study here, but the EcoFlow is one that tells you the temperature of the inside of the device. The Sateki, which I still haven't sent to the person who won it. I feel awful about that, but I just haven't taken the time to pack it up. I did find a box, and by I did find a box, I mean my wife found the box. Um, I have I have intentions. Former Marshall run it of sending that. I need to contact him. He won that thing. It's probably been 4 months, and I'm ashamed to say that. The only comfort that I take in that is that I put myself through the same stuff as well. Like I got those Bouge panels that have been down. They've been down for like 6 months, and I just reached out to them because the Bouge Juice Go died, and it's been down for a few weeks. It's not charging anymore, and I don't know why. I think it's a similar thing to what I was dealing with the Oops, where it's like once it gets to zero, something in it is no longer protected. I don't know. And then I just couldn't charge it up. And I tried it from 12 volt to 8 millimeter USB-C, and I tried a solar panel. It doesn't come with a wall charger with it. And it just won't turn on anymore. What else? Basically, it takes me a while to do stuff for me that I benefit from as well. What's going on? The remote's not working?
Yeah.
Is that the right remote?
Yeah, I think so.
That's the problem. It's probably the wrong remote. Where'd you get this remote from? Off the dresser?
Yeah.
Yeah, the size remote. You need to find your remote. That's why the batteries are dead, probably. The TV is in there. The remote didn't go anywhere but in there, and y'all didn't clean up that room the last couple of times, so it's probably wrapped up in some cover or something like that. Who was responsible for DJing the TV that night y'all had it? I feel like you got to look better. 9 times out of 10, this is size remote for his Roku. If you need batteries, you can come down and get these. So I've been messing around with having power stations out in the temperature. The EcoFlow tells me the temperature, and um, even though it can be colder outside, all it needs to do is to be above freezing. And then once you start getting solar power into these devices, they kind of warm up anyway. Again, don't quote me on that because I haven't tested it. What I did was I took one of my phones and I put it in LA Times. What's happening? I put it in the weather app in Celsius. So right now it's 0 degrees outside. And you know, when you look at your power station, they tell you the temperature in Celsius. So they'll be like, hey, you can charge it from, 0 degrees to whatever, or -10 to whatever, or 10 degrees to whatever. So I always grab this phone and then look at the weather app in here to see what the temperature is outside. And I govern myself accordingly. It helps me a lot to inform my perspective before I pop something outside to get solar power. Right now, I have the Bluetti 200-watt panel that's outside on the Bluetti AC50B. I have the Elicanta, the what's the people cell power? Who makes those? Is it Blue something? Big Blue. That one's out there, and it'll be charging a Loom Pal. But the Loom Pal is not LFP, so its temperature threshold is a lot wider. It might be -10 degrees at which it can charge, and that's pretty much it. And to be able to have these devices on solar, one gives me comfort because if we ever lose power, then I at least know I could keep my food. I can make that work, even if it's overcast. And if the day just sucks, I have reserve power. Um, man, I meant to move the AC. What's this thing? The AC 200P. I meant to move it downstairs. I had a plan. I took the Bouge RV inverter and I hooked it up to my, what's them people who gave me that big battery? I forget their name. I got this big old 300 amp hour battery that the inverter is hooked into, but the inverter does something weird. I got a video on it. It does something weird where it has something that they call a soft start. A soft start is a device that is used commonly on air conditioners and other things that pull a high amount of power or amps to start. So it starts it slowly, but this inverter has a soft start built into it. And what it does is it lowers the voltage. So it's playing these like EcoFlow, Bluetti, Power Boost kind of trickery games. And I don't know how I feel about that. The reason why I bring that up is it was supposed to be a 120 volt inverter, but it can start out sometimes, let's just say 100 volts, 95 volts, 99 volts. And then it ramps up, which I think is the whole point of a soft start. I need to reach out to Bouge RV to see if they can figure out some way to turn that off and just give me 120 flat. Because the goal was to have 120 coming in from the Bouge RV router, inverter, and 120 coming in from the AC200P. But that just never materialized. There's no reason for me to move the AC200P downstairs if it can't be a companion to another 120 volt power station. I mean, I could still move it down there. I had these whole plans. SetTight gave me the DC optimizer from his AC200P. His AC200P stopped working. So I have this to be able to add an extra 500 watts to the AC200P. I call it the ACP for short. And because I can, right here at my desk, this outlet that's right over here is on one side of my panel, and then the power stations that I have down there, or the inverter from Bouge RV, it can easily access the other side of my panel. You know, you have two sides, the left side and the right side. I use male to male cables to energize my house after I turn my grid power off. It essentially operates as what do they call them? An inlet. You can either go transfer switch or you could go the other one, whatever the other one is. it operates that way. All an inlet does is it installs this plate that makes sure that you can't access off-grid power without turning your main power off, but I operate as that plate. So I turn my main power off, and then I'll have the AC200P energize one side of the panel, and then the plan was to have the Bouge RV energize the other, but it does this weird 99, 112, 117, 119, 120 volts. You know, it has to work its way up there. So that kind of took the wind out of that sail. I guess it's better than nothing. Is it? I don't know. Is it better than 110? I'm not sure. To start out at 99 volts and then work your way up is a little bit annoying for me. So I just didn't move forward with it. But if I did, I would be in a better situation solarly because the AC200P would be downstairs. It would have a 1,000 watt array coming into it. And then I would have a floating either 300 watt or 400 watt single panel that I could move wherever I wanted to get that power whenever. Because the 1,000 watt lay flat array is just out in my yard. It doesn't move. It gets what it gets. And when it's not getting power, it's just not getting power. But being at the AC200P is such a beast of a power station in my configuration, to have a floating panel on it gives me more power throughout the day for longer, which is dope. So, yeah, no, it really sucked, man. Solarly. It sucked to have to deal with that kind of falling apart. What I am interested in is seeing how things may change for power station prices, solar panel prices, which is interesting because power stations, they can be very expensive. They can be very costly. So I don't know that the tariffs are going to impact that stuff too much. I think it's going to be like smaller items where the margins are a little bit smaller. I think even with solar panels being, it might impact Amazon solar panels, but I don't know how much it's going to impact like pallets of panels and those type of things. I'm a big fan of buying panels used anyway because those are the better value. I mean, you could spend $100 on, or let's just call it $80. You could spend $80 on a new 100-watt panel from Amazon, or $200, 180, 175, maybe 165 on a new 200-watt panel from Amazon. Or you could go into your marketplace and get a 300, 350, 325 for like $100, $80 used. So I prefer to go that route. There's actually some panels in my area now where the guy is selling some 300s for about like $85, $80. But if you buy like 10 or more, he's selling them for like 60. And in my mind, I want the 60 price. So it's funny how money changes situations. It's funny how you have a situation where when you see that price, you want the lowest price. So I'm always tempted to reach out to the guy and be like, man, I'll take 4 of them if you'll sell them to me for 65 instead of 80. Because supply and demand is what it is. If you can't sell them, then you can make a sale, get some money back. But I get the feeling that he's not that kind of cat. And plus, I don't necessarily have the coins at the moment. And plus, I also don't want more 300-watt panels. I would buy some in a heartbeat if I had the dough and he was willing to sell them for like 65, 70. But the thing about them is they're split cell joints, and all my panels are not. So it's like top half, bottom half on these other panels, which would be nice because a lot of times I encounter situations where the bottom half of my panel is covered and then my top half will still be producing some power. I'll take, if a 300-watt panel was producing about 175, and then once that shade hits it, it's down to like 30, I'll take 80, 85. I'll take that in a heartbeat. My situation with how much power we use in this house is not special, but it is less considering how many people we have in the house. So if I have a panel that has shade on it producing 85 watts, that could run, my refrigerator is covered. If I got another one producing that same amount of power, my internet and my TV is covered. As long as we could keep this food refrigerated and we could throw something up on the TV with the internet running, I feel like we good money. If we ever, I actually proposed, good to see set type. I actually proposed to my wife that we test and see how well we would do with being like off the grid for a few days, just to see what life is like. Because if things get interesting, I remember I saw something, I was watching a news report that was saying how because of the tariffs, Canada could choose to be petty and like turn off power to some places in the Northeast, or like kill power during like the Super Bowl or something like that, just to be. Oh, Justin. But with Trump moving the way that he's moving, people can't be seen as weak, I suppose, in that regard. So they were pitching some ideas, and if that were to happen, what I mean, it's like having an idea of how we would be able to adjust and be able to meet our core needs is very important to me. So we need to kind of get that on wax, test out using very limited power, because it should not be hard to power this house, especially during the day. Because whenever my wife leaves, I feel like we thug it out around here. It's her that brings the anything is possible throughout the day with electricity. But when she's not here, it's like I can be a lot more structured in our electricity use, to the point where if the music is still playing, because my kids like to listen to music, at least one of them does, and we have a lamp on and the internet is still running, that's really all we need during the day. We are a open the blinds, open the curtains kind of family. Um, and if we're not cooking, then we're fine. The kids may every now and then venture upstairs and be like, "Oh, the light's not working," but we don't hang out upstairs typically during the day. All right, let me see what these comments is hitting for. Went to zero and wouldn't charge. Okay, I had an AC 200p that did that. Went to zero and wouldn't charge afterward. It needs a direct charge at the battery to activate the BMS to accept the charge. Interesting, the voltage is too low. A direct charge at the battery. I wonder if you could figure out a way to give electricity to it through like the 12-volt port, maybe. That'd be interesting. Or a barrel connector. That would be crazy because a barrel connector is so tight. But maybe I could jumpstart the Bouge RV in some way. I don't see it, but because sometimes the 12 volt is not regulated, so it's a direct connection to the battery, especially with LFP. You don't necessarily need regulation. At least on some of these smaller power stations. With these higher voltage battery packs, you need a regulation to, what do they call it, buck the voltage down. Whereas like back when we all first started, you had something like Go Labs or whatever. They just had to boost it to make the voltage constant because we weren't on LFP batteries like the EcoFlow or something like that. But with the voltage on LFP being so steady for what 85% of the capacity, whatever it is, I don't know what it's called. Then it don't really need regulation in my opinion, but it'd be like that sometimes. Let's see. My fridge is using about 167 watts an hour, hooked up to the Delta Max all day and solar. That's what's up, man. Power and stuff from solar is just, it's incredible. Did you open it up to figure that out? Oh, that's a good question. Who is messaging me? Okay, cool. So where I'm at now is so another thing that didn't pan out because the Bouge RV inverter was like busting the whole situation up. I've had this Pecron DC charger to MC4 for a while. I guess I could show you the front of this dip. And this was going to be a big part of the plan of continuity and power because I have like 6 batteries, 5 because I can't count the TimGot. That's what it is. A TimGot 300 amp hour battery. I can't count that one anymore because it's hooked up to a inverter. So it's not a battery that's in play anymore. It has an outlet. That's what it'd be used for. But I still have 5 other 124 watt hour batteries, 5 kilowatts, approaching 6 if you're technical because it's like 12 something, that I was going to use to be able to continue to feed the AC 200p throughout the night with the Pecron. So I could use that, or I could use its AC charger, and then the AC 200p will be able to power things for longer based on that. That's going to be something that's going to be very important to me as the summer comes around, because with all of this solar that I have, I run out of places to put power. It's like, man, it's so funny to me how that works. Even with the warm weather, people will start to complain about the warm weather when they forgot how much it sucked for it to be cold. I don't understand Northerners. They're a rare, weird breed to me. When it gets cold, I'm like, all right, cool. It's not hot anymore. I could live with this, especially when I'm only moving from house to car to work front door, and then vice versa. Or if I'm even going to the store or something, you're outside for like a second. Now, being on a bus, that's a different thing. But if you got a car, it's like, what you complaining about? I walk around in winter with this jacket on. If I have to put on a real jacket, actually, I don't. I'll put on something a little bit bigger, but it's not a big deal. So the idea of being stuck in winter for solar is an odd one to me too. I just look at it like it sucks. And with me having such humble beginnings, a 50-watt panel on what's the joint? The Bowdens, getting 30 watts from a panel is fantastic to me. it doesn't allow me to fill these devices up. Like right now, my AC70 probably has, which has been running my TV. It's under the TV and it's been running my TV. The AC70P had more power in it this morning, so it was running the internet. But that one, we were watching the Cosby Show on someone's Plex server because you can't find the Cosby Show streaming anywhere free, which I think is unfortunate. I'm trying to introduce my kids to Black healthy family in some capacity. Um, and I've been wanting to introduce them to the Cosby Show. Now, luckily, they like the Cosby Show, so it's pretty cool. I'm at 8%. So that's the AC70. AC is on 8%. But during the day, it was getting in what? It was getting in 30 watts, and my TV was using 60. So whatever battery capacity it had in there, it extended its ability to run by like half because it was getting the power in. So what it had was, what does that connection diagram look like? Let's see. So it goes from, I'll show you. It has this long cable with ringlets on it that go to your battery. So you would connect this to the battery. And then this particular connection right here, which is an XT90, connects to this device right there. And then that connects to MC4 cables. So you plug this into your solar connection of your device. So let's say you had the AC180 and you had an extra battery. You buy the battery, you have this joint, you hook this up to the battery, hook this up to this, and then you go MC4 into your device, and it gets it about 400 watts of power by, I believe, boosting the voltage and maybe the amps. I don't know. I have yet to actually use it because when I set it up, I don't need it to be permanent, but I need to have it in a space where it's going to be like, okay. And then another thing that's important to me in that particular scenario is I want a way to go from ringlet to clamp. Where is that at? And the reason why is because I have 5 batteries. It's like, who wants to take a ringlet, twist it off, put it on another battery for another 1260 watt hours? So if I could have a clamp, go to that. And I could just pop it on the battery. I guess I'll bring it here. You just pop it on the battery. Done with that battery, pop it on another. Done with that one, pop it on another. I have 5 of them. So that's another reason why I'm not jumping at the opportunity to use it, because it'll be more of a static situation versus a flexible one. Now, when the TimGot was in play, that would have been a good option to hook this directly up to. That's another reason that kind of like changed things up. That would have been a good option to hook it up to, because once that's popped in, that's almost 3,600 watts, 3,600 watt hours that I could pump into a power station at about 400 watts an hour or something like that. But now that it has an inverter on it, and I may actually be back to square one with that, because the inverter is kind of like, but there's no way I'm not going to use the inverter. It's just not ideal for what I was hoping for, because I've been noticing that my microwave, when it runs on 110, is not as powerful. So a pizza that would take like 1:45 to cook will probably take like 2 minutes and 45 seconds to cook on 110. And then the Bougerie does a little bit better, where instead of 1:45 to cook, it takes like 2:30 or 2:15. It's like an extra 30 seconds. So it's an improvement, but it's not what I'm looking for. So thanks, and please go back to it at some point and share how you will use it. Yeah, I'm gonna be making a video for it soon to just talk about it and possibly illustrate how it works. But what I was hoping for is to be able to make a video of how I'm gonna use it and plan to use it. Right now, what I'll have to do is just make a video of me talking about its features and just using it in some capacity. Um, it's a pretty cool idea. Pretty cool. The interesting thing about it is you can buy an extra 1200 watts. You'll probably get about 1,000 watts from 1,000 watt hours from the battery. You could buy a battery for like $180 now. I've seen them as cheap as like 170 from like Redodo and I think they call it lead time. Or maybe yeah, lead time. I think that's them. So you could easily add capacity to your power stations with a device like that. I mean, you could do it the old-fashioned way too. You could just go battery. You could just go with one of these, which is a battery clamp to a 12 volt, and then charge your power station that way from a battery power station. uh, that works, but you're only gonna get about 120 watts, which is fine. I'm not complaining about that at all. I do it all the time, or at least I've done it all the time, and it helps to keep stuff running longer. Keep in mind, um, most stuff doesn't use a lot of power around the house. But as I endeavor to put my house on solar more often, once again, my wonderful wife gets involved and she starts drying clothes and washing clothes, then that power can drain really fast. So to have something that could push 400 watts into it's like I could carry her load a little bit better because she may be using 500 to wash clothes, and then I could have solar coming in at like 230, 300, 150, and then I could pop that other one in to the joint and then get more power. Now, that's not necessarily the most applicable idea because during the day, if I'm getting solar power in, then I can't use that with it. But that's where something like the DC optimizer, what's that optimizer? Is that what it's called? From Setai comes into play where I could throw, no, it doesn't come into play there. Does it? What does that do? It takes solar and then makes it a static voltage to go into the AC charger of the AC 200p. Speaking of Blue Eddy, I saw Jason Noy's video where he went to CES. I think All Powers has invited me to come to CES, and I'll go at some point. I'll go 1 year, maybe. My wife is scheming on trying to go with me. I can't lie, I'm not excited about going to Vegas. I just feel like Vegas is hot all the time. And I don't really like being hot. I'm not a fan. Uh, I tell my wife all the time, like when we would move and shake during the summer months, more so before we had kids, she would want to walk in the sun all the time. And I'm like, babe, I'm from the NO. I walked in the sun all the time. It was hot all the time. Like I'm not, I don't want to walk in the heat. I want to enjoy the shade. So I don't know if I want to go to Vegas. I'm not sure if I'm ready. It'll be an experience, and I feel like I will do it, but I don't know if I want to. That's my problem. But back to Blue Eddy. Blue Eddy has, I think, their new Aspen series, and they're coming out with 60 in and out. Yeah, I do need to get to the West Coast for in and out. That's for sure. Uh, that's certainly a goal in life to be able to try some of the West Coast chain burger joints. What is there? Is Shake Shack one of them as well? Because we got a Shake Shack somewhere around here, and I was like, shoulder shrug. Five Guys fell off too. Five Guys used to be freaking delicious, and now it's just like, it's okay. What's CES, the Consumer Electronics Show? Um, so yeah, whole bunch of stuff, and it's huge. But the power station companies will be there. You'll have like everything electronics basically. They go and they show off their latest and greatest. But Blue Eddy, I think with this Aspen series, which is what I'm trying to get to, they freaking came out with a new big power station that has 60 volts on it, and I'm so disappointed in them. I wonder. I don't. Five Guys has never come off as overly expensive to me. It is costly, that's for sure. But I guess I've come to terms with a long time ago that if I get a burger from there, I'm gonna just get the double and not get fries, or I'll get like a single and then get fries. So I kind of work it out. But somebody was talking about lately, like in the last 2 years, they're like going to Five Guys will cost you like $23 or something like that. And I'm just like, how? I barely come out of Five Guys spending like 10, $12. I didn't. I watched a video of a guy that did. It was early in my solar journey, and I was a little intimidated at the point. It was also under warranty. He did a complete teardown. It wasn't pretty. It was probably Jehu. Jehu tore down an AC 200. I'm not. No, I shouldn't say it was probably Jehu. I know Jehu tore down the AC 200. I don't think it was a P though. It was before it was LFP. Um, but I know I've seen people tear them apart. Them super long screws in them and all that jazz. Um, so yeah, maybe I'll do CES one year. It's also during a time of the year where it's cold here, and traveling when it's cold is kind of annoying. Not in the worst way, but in my mind, I'm just like, I don't want to go anywhere. And now it would be a family trip. As my kids get older, maybe it could possibly be a trip where we don't have to take them. Um, but I wouldn't mind taking them. I like to. I shouldn't say I like to travel. I like. I don't mind going places as long as I can have internet, and I have my tech with me. So I'm good with that. Man, so when we travel, what I'll do is I have Visible Mobile now. I've had it for some time, and the wonderful thing about Visible is one, it's affordable. Two, it gives you unlimited tethering at a capped speed instead of just full throttle tethering at a capped uh, limit. So you get 5 Mbps on your tether, but it's unlimited. I'm on the plan now that I get 10 on the tether, unlimited. And then what I'll do is I'll go to someone like Mint Mobile, because I went through this whole process of trying to search for good data only coverage, good data only service just for the summer. So what I've been doing is I'll buy a Mint Mobile. Let's say if I could catch one on sale, fantastic. But I'll get like a $60 plan for the 20 gigs per month. And that way, when I'm traveling, and let's say I have to work or something, or we're having throughput issues, I could throw the kids on that via tether. And then me and my wife or myself, I can use my tethering, and then we could split. And then whenever we have to split up, I can keep my cell phone coverage with me. I don't have to give it to them to take so they can tether. They can have their own thing. And it's just $20. It's $20 for like uh, 15 gigs of data or something like that. It only works because you be getting the introductory price. In order to keep the cheapest prices, to get the cheapest prices would mean you have to pay for a year. But the introductory price is the same as if you paid for the year. So they'll have like a $45 5 gig plan. It might be 10 now. No, I think it's five. You're like 5 gigs every month for $15 a month, which is cool. I don't know. But with Visible, I actually just moved my wife over to Visible. So she has the $20 plan. They were running a promotion to save $5 on their $25 plan, which is what I used to have. So I was spending $20 for unlimited internet, unlimited text, calling, and unlimited tethering at 5 megabytes per second. I never know which one to go with. Um, I jumped up to the $30 one because they were giving $15 off of their $45 plan. This stuff is not active anymore. This is not a tech channel, so I didn't feel obligated to let you guys know. But if you're interested in Visible, I do have a referral code. So if you're interested, it could save both of us some money. $20 off of my joint, and I think $20 off of yours. Um, I changed her over, so now she has unlimited. So she has an option that when she's out with the kids, she can give them internet with no problem, instead of her possibly asking me like, "Hey, can we have internet from something you have?" I also will mess around with trying out certain carriers. I'll be on like slickdeals.com. I don't try everything, but I'm on Leica Mobile right now, which I think is T-Mobile mobile virtual network operator, which just means it leases space spectrum from T-Mobile at a cost, and then we can get it cheaper. Mint is also an MVNO. Cricket is an MVNO. Um, Visible is one as well, even though it's outright owned by Verizon now. I think as of a few years back. But I say all that to say, um, I'm trying out Leica. It was $12.50. Now keep in mind, I would spend $20 per month for Mint via a $60 package for 3 months to get maybe what 15 gigs. Let me go check because I always forget this stuff. So I would spend $20 for that to get maybe 10, 15 gigs. Whereas like to try Leica, I got unlimited calls, text, and internet, unlimited for $12.50 for 6 months. And it came with 10 gigs of tethering, which is like I'm winning. I'm winning. So let's see. Okay, so yeah, the $20 a plan joint gives you, let me just show you. All right, we had an hour and 6 minutes. Sweet. Let's share a window. Phone. Let's do that. Do that. So this plan right here, I'd buy this. You can see at 3 months, it's $20. It's the same as 12 months because you're a new customer. It says right here, new customer offer. 15 gives you 5 gigs. $20 gives you 15 gigs, which is like what, a little over $1 per gig. So I would buy those. So that's $20 a month for 15 gigs. Tethering is included, and it uses this 15 gigs for tethering. So I'm basically paying $20 for 15 gigs of tethering. I throw it in the phone when my kids need internet. I grab this phone, whatever it is. It'll be something like my, let's see, Pixel 3, I believe that this is, which I love this phone. Let me tell you something. I love how small this phone is. The screen is really unimpressive, but it's still, I like it because it's so freaking small. I hate putting a big phone to my face. I'm kind of weird, but I've always liked options. Back in the day, I used to roll with a Note 3 and an iPhone 5 or iPhone SE. So this is my Pixel 6. So you can see, can you see? That's a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter, a little more compact. I feel like if I could get this, let's see if it has any juice in it. It does not. But it has a, they call it a forehead and a chin. There's a high forehead and a high chin. If I could get this size phone with a full size screen that covers the whole thing, I would love this form factor. But I would grab a phone like this instead of, I know this is transitioning into tech, instead of buying a data only plan that would give me like $20 for maybe like 10 gigs of whatever, I buy the $20 15 gig. And not only do I get the 15 gigs, but I get a phone that has service. So you can make phone calls, text messages, and all of that. So that's a better thing for me than having a hotspot device that only does data. I much rather have a phone that does all of the things than having a hotspot that only does data. So I say all that to say, traveling with the family to CES would be interesting, and moving around the city if we had like a rental car would be cool too, because as long as I have internet, I'm good. I don't like the idea of being in an RV because I feel like one, they're costly, two, they're not very well built. Um, but if I knew somebody who had an RV that I could pay them like a few whatevers plus the cost to operate it, I feel like we would definitely do that. But I'm not gonna pay for someone to make a profit to rent their RV. I mean, maybe we'll do that at some point, but I love the idea of being able to drive somewhere, pull over, and be more comfortable than when we pull over in a van and chill. And me and my kids will drive, the family actually, but we'll drive and we'll just chill in the car often. I feel like if I wanted to get out of the house, I'll just grab, a couple phones. We got the internet. We'll just hang out in the car and we'd be fine. Good money, nice and comfortable for the most part. So going forward, at this point, right? It is February. The sun is kind of shifting. I'm getting more sun in my front yard than I used to. It still sucks up there. I have one panel that I can move to the back of the yard, but not far. And I have another panel that just it can't move. It's just stuck up here. So I will move that panel to the back sometimes, and I kind of adjust it. But my 6 panels that are along my fence line, which if you notice the last video, which shows how far back it is, I only have like 3 panels. And I thought I recorded going to pick up the 4 panels, but maybe I didn't. That's a problem I have in terms of recording on so many devices. Footage can kind of be places that I don't want it to be. I do a pretty good job of consolidating it, but sometimes things can fall through the crack, which is another reason why I like to record and produce and upload linearly, because when I jump forward and I prioritize something that's real time and then I have to go back to something else and then I forgot some footage on another thing, it just becomes a whole thing that I have to overcome. I struggle with it. I definitely struggle with it. So going forward, we'll be able to see some of the videos that I processed through. The Oops saga is going to be coming up soonish, where I got that Mega 2 and I just had constant problems with it. Right now, I have these panels along my back fence line and they're static, they don't move. That'll be a cool video to talk about with that because I had to fasten them in some way. So in the video, I'll show you how I fastened them. I just got another 200-watt all powers panel, which is pretty cool because it is high voltage and lower amps. So again, if you just watch the Alcatel video, it's not necessarily related, but it is kind of, because the Alcatel was just a failing. But that panel is a 36, 37-volt panel with, oh man, I gotta tell you something about the Blue Eddies. But it's like 6 amps. So that I have 2 of those now. I just recorded a video about that. So it's 400 watts, 37 volts at like 6 amps. So it'll give you 12 amps max. So I'm sure it would melt the Alcatel port anyway if I was to do something like that, but I don't have to because I switched to XT60 on it. But I like that the voltage is high and the amps are low. I have to be mindful of that because I can't plug in the AC50B to it, which kind of sucks. I wish the AC50B had a higher voltage limit on it, but it doesn't. Um, but the all powers R600s, they can go up to 50 to 60 volts. I think it's 50. So they're fine on those panels. And they can take in about 300 watts of solar, which is fine in that array as well, because it's not going to get that much more. Even in pristine conditions, it might get like 360, kind of similar to what Yvette was talking about earlier. It might get like 360, 365. So I'll be losing out on 65 watts, but I'm never going to get a perfect angle on flexible panels. So it doesn't matter to me. I have a dilemma. I wanted to move the AC200P downstairs. In the lineage of the video, the videos, I just brought the AC 200p upstairs, but the AC 200p has been upstairs for a while. It's maybe like about 4, 5, 6, 7 videos behind back when I brought the AC 200p upstairs. If I bring that downstairs, my problem that I'm going to run into is what will I use to possibly run my air conditioner out of the window? Now, I do hope that by the time summer comes around, maybe we'll have a better air conditioner for this window, because the one that we use now is one that was given to us and it's older. I think Setai made fun of me when he saw it. um, but I don't know if a newer one is going to use less power. Now he's into these fancy, what do they call them? What are the mini split things called? There's a word for heat pump joints, but that stuff is expensive. I'm not into that. My wallet's not into it more than anything. But hopefully we can get a better window unit that is more efficient, but I don't know how much more efficient it's going to be. But the AC 200p could barely run. Hey, Sharp Farm, it could barely run. I know, right? It could barely run that air conditioner with any other load on it. I mean, like if I had like a 5-watt USB light bulb on it, that AC 200p would struggle. It would turn off. So I have to turn everything off of it to run that AC, which means if I move it downstairs and it's running things throughout the house, using the air conditioner up here off of solar is just it's a non-starter. And even if I take something like, say, my Cell, which has a 2200 watt inverter, I would hope that that inverter would be able to absorb those amps. But the fact that it goes from 2000 to 2200 really has nothing to do with surge. It all has to do with how well the power station is going to handle surge. Because if it can't handle the surge, whether it's 2200 watts, 1800 watts, 2000 watt inverter, it just won't work. So that's going to be interesting. And right now, I don't think I have any power station outside of the Duran, and it's starting to make weird noises. It might be able to handle the surge of the air conditioner. I was going to bring that one up if I brought the AC 200p down for my master plan, but the fan is like being real wild. And they just replaced that like 6 months ago because it stopped doing something, and kudos to them for replacing it. But I'm gonna be honest, with Ace Volt playing me the way that they did, I don't know if I care to send another power station back. Um, I don't know if I trust these companies like that anymore. I'm a little sketchy on that. I mean, I do what I have to do because ultimately I have power stations, but to send something back and then not get it back sucks.
What?
Yeah.
You sent a power station and they didn't send it back?
Yep. They were like Ace Volt. A company called Ace Volt.
You ain't tell me about that.
I mean, I'm
You
sure.
ain't tell me about that. How long ago was this?
I don't know. Maybe about like a year.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while though.
That's crazy.
Yep. They
They would have got a video.
Oh, I made a video, but it wasn't packaged in that way.
No,
And Ace Volt is
it would have been packaged.
it wasn't intentional. It was one of those things where it's like when I record something, I record with an intention.
Yeah, true. I'm talking about they would have got a whole video specifically about that situation.
That's fair. That's fair. Maybe. No. It is fair, but I'm just saying, like maybe I would go that route at some point. I listen. Them people, they probably ain't sold not another. They probably ain't sold not another power station. The power stations was super expensive too. So I feel like they probably felt like, man, look, we sent you that joint. It didn't really work out. The video didn't perform. So too bad, so sad. That sucks, but it happened. And the crazy part is, if it came back, I was actually gonna send it to Roland. So
You ain't missing it.
no, I'm missing it. But if I got it back, like if I, the thing was, if I was able to get the Alcatel fixed and they sent me the Ace Volt back, then I was gonna give him the Ace Volt or the Alcatel. They're the same device. But now knowing what I know in terms of having fixed the Alcatel, I would have just kept the Ace Volt and fixed it. And by fixed it, I mean open it up and then reroute to XT60. I've had no issues with that joint. Man, listen, I had a battery pack. Um, can you address that alarm, please, babe? I had a battery pack. One of my older ones, man, it was all puffed up. Set tight. If you still around, I was gonna message him. I wasn't gonna message him. I was gonna look it up online, but I probably would have asked him too. Um, it was puffy, so I threw it out the house. I didn't throw it, but I put it out on my back porch because I don't know what's going on with them batteries, man. Them batteries is lithium ion or lithium polymer or something, and I don't know if putting it out in the cold is bad for it, but I feel like if it catch on fire, let it catch on fire outside. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know. I know you're supposed to recycle batteries, but I don't know how committed I am to that, to be honest with you. I don't know. Oh, you know what? What's the company that has the built-in panels on the power station? Browie? Browie has a new smaller one. One of the solar channels did a video on it, and he was saying that he didn't like it. I think it's like Solar Projects. He has like another big channel, and he created a solar channel. I think it's like Home Projects or something like that. And it didn't perform well, and they were gonna send me the joint, but it's a 300 watt hour, and I'm really like, I got enough 300 watt hour power stations, but I was still curious about it. I was, but it was during a time when I was really backed up on my videos, and I was just like, man, I can't be adding stuff to my plate. But he was saying it didn't do very well, and I suspect that it's because the screen may not be calibrated. I don't know if he performed the first charge discharge at some point, but he was saying that he couldn't recommend it because the power didn't. Let me show you. I guess I could show you what it looked like. Where's my? I don't use Amazon in no other browser except for Firefox, so my life is very complicated. And I've been relying a lot lately on my Graphene OS. Graphene is an operating system on Android that is a lot more secure than basic Android, which has been pretty cool. It allows you to have profiles on it, and those profiles are really explicitly separate from other profiles. So I have like a main profile that has no Google in it. It just has all open source applications. I have an Ask Solar Exploring Comms profile. Then I have just my regular Google profile. I have a Facebook specific profile. And then I just created a gaming specific profile. Let me tell you about the gaming profile, right? So while I look this power station up, the gaming profile came out of me wanting to try this game out that was modded because these games are annoyingly complex in terms of how they want to pull you in to get you to watch all the ads, to spend all the money. And I'm like, man, I'm never going to do that. So I tried out a modded version, but the modded version could be modded maliciously. So what I did was I created a gaming profile and I only installed that game in that profile. So there's no Google on there. There's no other apps on there. There's nothing on there that's specific to me. It just lives out there separate. And I installed it on there and I've been enjoying that. That's been pretty cool. All right, this is the Browie 5000B. Let me see here. Stop screen share, present, share screen, window. What you cooking, babe? Babe,
Huh?
what you cooking?
Chicken, carrots, macaroni and cheese, and fried chicken. Air fried chicken, fried chicken.
What? You say air fried chicken and fried chicken?
Yes.
Minat Noah. Let me see. Add to stream. All right, so this is the other one. It is costly too. That's one thing. It has a 30-watt panel in it. It's a little weird. I'm sure this panel is not ETFE. I'm sure it's PET. PET panels are getting on my nerves. I'm gonna be honest with you. I need to give away this 300-watt panel. I talked about it on one of the previous lives. I'll set that up sometime in the future. The practical gadgeteer. What's happening, sir? How was dinner? Let's see. I have this one, the green one, which is nice. I was using that thing for a while. They wanted to send me this smaller flashlight weird one as well. I don't know if you see my mouse moving right here. Hey, 2%. How the heck are you? Good to see you. Yeah, I know, right? She coming out the cut. That Cali cut. So because I suspect that the screen was not optimized, because some solar channels have this weird thing where they want to see how much power they get in a certain amount of time. And I'm like, it's not that complicated. If you have a 100-watt panel and it's giving you 70 watts and you ran it for 3 hours, you're going to get whatever 3 times 70 is. Like, what? I will understand this idea, this arbitrary idea of wanting a power station to be full. It's just like, it means nothing. It's like having 300 watts full in a 300 watt hour capacity power station or 300 watts in a 2000 watt hour capacity power station is still 300 watts. It is what it is. It's like whether the power station is at 90%. Don't get me wrong. A power station at 90% feels better than a power station at 30%. But if 30% is still the same amount as a power station at 90%, I'm just like, what are we talking about here? That stuff don't make no sense to me. I'm just saying. But it made me want to test the device to see if it's actually going to get and store that much power. Oh, wait. What is it? Built-in solar panel. Industry leading in lifespan and quality. Sure. Of course it is. Let's see here. Oh, dang. I may have messed that up. Okay. All right. So I reached out to them and they were like, actually, we've gone through our allotment for that device. So then they asked me if I wanted to look into that looks like a brand new Mylan. They asked me if I wanted to look at their updated Browie joint. The only thing they updated on it is instead of a 600 watt inverter, it has 1,000 watts inverter. If it had bi-directional charging, I would have been interested. If it had an ETFE panel, I would have been interested. I was hammering that Browie C600 that I have, a C500. And then I started to see the panel kind of start to degrade. So what I did was I stopped doing that. Excuse me. I stopped doing that and I just stored it downstairs as a reserve power station. Now I could still put it on a 100 watt panel. Dang, I have the hiccups. I could still put it on a 100 watt panel and then charge it through 5521. And that's something that I was doing as well, but I just ultimately put it away. I'll probably get back to that during the summer months, but I just won't use the solar panel with the 100 watt panel, which is something that I did a lot during the summer. And it was cool. I would use it to power this lamp right here. It was a nice little vertical power station that didn't take up a lot of footprint because it was taller. I liked it. It was nice. But now I don't want to damage the panel by continuing to use it because I think that it's going to be a clutch power station for someone who may need power, who will just have the dip all in. And if I had to lend it to somebody, it's like, oh yeah, just put it outside, open the joint up, and then run an extension cord into the house, and you could keep your internet running. And you could charge a couple cell phones to keep your laptop running. That would be the move. Let's see what we got here. Chrome, chat. I know it's been a long time. You're gonna laugh at me, but I picked up 3 of the old Go Power Plus solar stations. Flashlights. I don't know why, but I don't know. That is funny. Yeah, when they swell, they gotta go. Just drain it completely and then take it to a battery recycle. Man, I'm not using that dip. That's crazy. I hear you. I trust your judgment. I do. But I'm not gonna do it. I put that joker out on the back porch. I actually need to look up what is cold weather potentially due to bloated batteries because I don't want to cause. Then it was chicken and air fries, shoestring fries. Nice. I'm alive and kicking. Okay. Hope for a little more than that, but I'll take that. MJ said, that's funny, Del. I made fried chicken and polo guisado, Puerto Rican chicken today. Fancy. Fancy. I'm getting messages in Telegram. Man. Freaking Telegram. Man, Telegram. Telegram keeps deleting my son's account because I'm using Google Voice numbers and they are on my nerves. And Telegram does not have support, real support anymore. It was sparing at best back in the day. I've been with Telegram, I think since, if not since its inception, I've been with Telegram since shortly thereafter. I actually just went through the process of exporting all of my conversations out of Telegram using the Telegram desktop app. Because I use a Google Voice number with Telegram, and if they're kicking people off who use Google Voice numbers, then I'm just like, okay, I don't want to lose all my conversations and voice messages and things like that. You got rain in Cali. Rain in Cali is always a good look. It's warm here in South Carolina, but a promise of cold is coming. Okay. We've been on for an hour and holy moly, 90 minutes, just like that. It's 9 o'clock. Dang. Good to be live. It's not funny. Stewed chicken with rice on the side. It was not fancy. We got a lot of rain coming, but not cold. What area of the city you in? You're in Tennessee? Practical Gadgets here? I feel like you were close to the one whose name shall not be spoken. Politics. Yeah, buddy. I was engaging with my cousin on a post about the purported something of the Department of Education. I know it's been a minute. And he was talking about how he just didn't see the move, kind of along the lines of what you were saying, that would follow the money. And it's interesting to see how. So one thing is this. I think Trump wants to leave a legacy of being a good president or even a great president or even the greatest president. And I think that there'll be some practical changes that will be made. All these kids is coughing, so forgive me. I think there will be some practical changes that will be made, but I think those changes, I feel like if he's a 10 over here and other politicians are a 10 over here, like the spectrum, I feel like he's operating at like full bore, and we need him to dial it back a good 30%. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Because what seems to be gonna happen if he has his way is we're gonna feel a lot of discomfort, and I feel like we are overdue for some discomfort, but we're gonna feel a lot of it. Like this is stuff with the FAA. Again, I only get the news through this like Democratic flair. Being a black person, most of my friends on Facebook are black people, and most of them are Democrats. So all of the stuff that I get exposed to has that particular flair to it. But the stuff with the airplanes and the FAA and talking about how, he was offering these people these buyouts because there was too many people. And, I think that we are not, the government does not run lean at all. I would prefer it to run smart, but conservatives prefer it to be small. Liberals prefer it to be big. I I don't want small and ineffective or large and ineffective. I really don't. And I think something, I forget something. He had a video that someone shared with me where Trump was talking about the homeless population and kicking them out of cities, trying to get them help, open up certain parts of the country for whatever, however practical or impractical that is. Um, I do think that line of logic, I think that most Americans would be willing to go into debt for something like that over some other stuff. So I thought that was really interesting that's something that his mind was uh, coming up with. Again, not rocket science, but just like an everyman kind of idea. It's like, okay, help people who need help, spend the money, get them out of our cities, downtowns and stuff like that. It's like I think most people could kind of buy into that. I don't know. Yeah, 2%. I think it's gonna be paying all throughout. To be honest, I think it's gonna be paying all throughout. I just midterm elections in less than 2 years. That's a fact. We'll see. Here's gonna be the crazy part. If he does it well enough, we could possibly, for the first time in a long time, see a midterm election not swing to the Democrats. But I want to. I am not pro Trump at all, but I do want him to succeed in some capacity because I feel like he sits in a place where in the grand scheme of things, I say that we're gonna do 100%. At its core, or somewhere in that 100% of the change that he wants to uh, enable for the country, somewhere in there is something reasonable. It might be like 20 to 30%, but then the rest is just throw it all away. It might be a fairer number, like 30 to 70% is a overall good idea, but the rest is just gonna set us on fire. But I think, man, the machine is too big. I really do believe that. Um, I don't pretend to be an overly enlightened or informed person, but it's just something needs to be different than what we've been doing. Yes, we do. Always, always. Education is not in the Constitution as a federal power. U.S. education has gone down the crapper since DOE was formed. That's what I was talking about. Me and Setai have these conversations. Like, I was having this conversation with my cousin, and I'm just like, let me play opposition's advocate. I don't call myself a devil's advocate anymore. Not that I care about the phrase, but yeah, she's gotten much bigger. Yeah, she's definitely a lot further south. I'm hoping for nothing comparable to the 17th. So, I was playing opposition's advocate, and I was like, well, he was talking about the Department of Education, the DOE, and it closing and the funding and so on and so forth. Actually, let me see, because I hate paraphrasing stuff. I'm gonna read y'all the joint. Well, I'm gonna try. Holy moly! So this is what he says, and my cousin is a very bright guy. I enjoy talking to him when we talk stuff like this. We've talked over many years. He said the pitch is that he's eliminating the Department of Education to give states back control over the schools, as if states don't already have control over schools. Have we all forgotten what happened a few years ago when DeSantis, a governor, signed a law signed into law banning racially associated education in the entire state of Florida. What was the Federal Department of Education's role in that? Let's not be, it uses a not so nice word, not profanity, but it says dumb. Let's not be dumb. Redhead doesn't give a good bit about no schools. Just think about if the issue was content and the quality of education, how would it be more ideal to manage individual states than to have a policy and objectives administered to the states through a centralized government agency? That's the complete opposite of streamlining and cohesion. It makes no sense. But what he does give a crap about is that $110 billion budget that gets allocated each year to them that he can redirect to pay for the next round of tax cuts or whatever other crap he dreams up. Don't believe me? Just ask why Elon was on there this past week laying people off. So this is my pushback to this idea. I said, but one could argue that the goal of the U.S. is to have the states run their own show for better or getting rid of CRT, which is critical race theory, which I thought was interesting. Critical race theory was a very interesting conversation we had publicly. I said one side wants the federal government to be involved as much as possible to make things better, and the other side doesn't want that because the govy sucks at making things better. Now, in all of this dialogue that me and him had, I think that his goal, the poster, my cousin, his goal was that how is this move gonna make things better? And I was like, well, giving them the money is not making things better. So why do we continue to do it? And we're not set up to where the federal government should have this kind of oversight over what states do. That's the whole point of the United States of America. Again, I'm no scholar, but the states should be able to govern within reason the way that they want to govern. But I think that his filter is the goal is there's going to be some pain associated with this particular cutback. And I'm just like, you know, in business, we went through this series of years where it was like do more with less. And I think in some ways we need to actually try to do more with less for real as it relates to our government spending. I think businesses, this is the interesting thing, I think businesses did that to be able to pad their profits. Now, what he was saying is linked in a way because it's like, okay, it's not really about doing more with less or pulling the government out of it. It's about the money, back to Yvette's point. Jojo, have some water, man. Don't just sit there coughing. Because if you don't try to control it, you're just going to keep coughing. Remember, we talked about when we were in New Orleans breathing? You have to slow down and take deeper breaths and try and calm yourself down. I used to have coughing spells as a kid that were like terrible. That's interesting. Let's see. It's taking a while for these comments to come through over here. It's being very strange. I don't know. Oh, I'm in top chat. Let me do live chat. I think that's cutting some stuff out. All right. States have different educational needs depending on their individual economies. That's fair. Any country that doesn't want to educate its children isn't worth being a country. Sure. I mean, but the kids are going to get educated in some capacity or another, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there will be no impact felt from this. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the common person, and I feel like no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, these kids are not getting smarter. They are not getting better. They are not getting brighter. And we still spending, in my uninformed opinion, the same amount of money. Like, what are we accomplishing by spending all of this money? I don't know. I don't know. It's like, okay, cool. Let's say special education is a part of that. Let's say access to disabilities and so on and so forth is a part of that. Let's say Head Start is a part of that. I've heard some things about Head Start not necessarily working, but I think that on a grand scheme of things is how you can apply that. But I think for people who live in particular spaces, they have seen the benefits of Head Start and getting an early start to learning ideas and concepts and so on and so forth. So it's like I said in the post, I'm like, man, buckle up, endure or enjoy whichever side of the table you on. Be ready to help people who need help. Don't live beyond your means. Tighten that belt a little bit and let's try and get through it. Or let's try and enjoy it, whatever side you fall on. If things stay the same, as somebody pointed out, it's 4 years, you know what I mean? And then you got the 2 years with the midterms that could swing. But it's an interesting time, man, to say the least. It's a very interesting time. Buckle up, Buttercup. That's right. Government education will only produce castrol, not intelligent, engaged citizens. That's a fact. I feel that the thing that, well, I mean, that's the purpose of it, right? That was its intention. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I could keep snapping and trapping, but I think buckle up is what it is. I think that that's the most appropriate way to think about things. And the unfortunate part is how will the most fragile people be impacted by it? That's what sucks. And that's why I think that as a society, we have to be ready to lend a hand where we can. I mean, so y'all be beautiful. Till next time. Hopefully, we get another one on the books. Maybe next Wednesday. We'll see. But I'm still banging on this archive, getting through these videos. So watch them. And if you don't watch them, play them. Just play them for your boy. Go to the channel and hit shuffle and just let YouTube give you some stuff. And then go to the store like you were going to do. All right. Y'all be beautiful.